Hi everybody, it's John Fitzy here again. This is my second video. I posted one at the beginning of the week and the feedback has been exceptional. So thanks everybody who fed back and encouraged me to keep doing them, because as I shared in the first video, my passion is to help others get in touch with their spirit and have what is widely known as a spiritual awakening, so that we can stop dragging our past around and be free of our past. This week I want to touch on some of the things that get in the way of getting in touch with our spirit and being awakened. And one of the main things is, it might be obvious to a lot of people, might be new to others. One of the main things is unforgiveness, carrying bitterness and anger towards people, institutions or incidents in our past. And a lot of us have had a lot of stuff that we've got a right to be angry about, but holding on to that anger keeps us from evolving and moving forward, and it keeps us in chains. Basically it keeps us in prisons. And they tell me when Nelson Mandela was released, he said, if I don't let go of the anger and bitterness towards the people who put me in here and treated me like this for years, then I will never be free. I will always be in prison. So he realised, that carrying anger and bitterness. So how do we get rid of that anger and bitterness? Because it can be justified at times, it can be justified. But I think the main way to get rid of it is first to recognise that it's you. If I carry anger and bitterness, it's me that it hinders. In the 12-step fellowships, 12-step recovery fellowships, they have a saying that the anger and resentment towards others is like drinking poison and expecting others to die. And that's a great wee description of it, And us in the 12-step recovery movement, we have a program where we can write this stuff down and let it go. So if you're in a 12-step program and you're on the way to doing that, then go for it. It's so freeing. But if you aren't and you need ways to search this stuff out and look at it and get rid of it, then seek a good counsellor. Ask someone to help you. There's no shame in asking for help, We all carry stuff. There's another great wee saying that I think is so relevant to this, and it's like, we don't live in the past, but the past lives in us, and there's loads of wee sayings that I'll come out with in these wee videos, but they mean a lot to me. They sound like cliches, and again, another one is, if you don't transmute your past pain, you'll transmit it into the world as anger and resentment and, just negativity, basically negativity. So the first thing, one of the other biggest hindrances to getting in touch with our spirit is the complete inability to sit at peace and be still and just be fully present. So difficult for a lot of us. That when I first when I first started trying it, I found it nigh impossible, because the mind just produces thoughts. That's what the mind does. The mind is a thought producer, and you can't stop that happening. But you can find a place where you find various meditations, mindfulness exercises that allow you to be at peace and no dragged about by the thoughts, to observe them and realise that you're actually not the thoughts, you're the observer of the thoughts. When you first get a wee touch of that, it's so beautiful, it's so peaceful. I'm a big fan of Eckhart Tolle on this subject. He's gave me loads of great wee tools. I strongly recommend his Power Now, and particularly his meditations on the Power Now, another small book he brought out after it. I read a portion of that every morning, and it helps me come into the present moment. You know, when I first started doing mindfulness and meditation, and I first got my first wee flavour, my first wee taste, my first wee experience of being fully present. And in the now, it was like, wow. I realised that I had never ever been fully present in my life, and that's quite freaky. What does being fully present mean? It means being where you are and recognising that everything's okay. You don't need to rush. Anxiety, worry, stress are all caused by thoughts of what's next, thoughts of the future. Anger, resentment, unforgiveness are all caused by thoughts and emotions of the past. And somewhere in the middle. It was once lovely described as the eternal now, the space between past and future, which is saturated in infinite, unconditional love. But it takes a lot of practice to be present. I'm not fully present every moment of every day, but I'm getting better at it. You know, I think there's few men ever get there. Maybe the Eckhart Tolles, the Dalai Lamas, and guys like that. And you can tell people who are comfortable and in the moment. But one of the biggest difficulties to sit in the moment is suppressed feelings and thoughts start to come up, and they're really uncomfortable. They're really uncomfortable. There's stuff that we just don't like thinking about, and we don't like feeling. Hence the addictive, compulsive thoughts that are always trying to drag us away. The mind is always, absolutely always, trying to drag us away from the moment. But to experience your spirit, stillness is required. It doesn't mean not thinking. If you try not to think, you'll fail. I used to try not to think, and as my good friend Carlton Pearson always says, what you fight, you ignite, and what you resist will persist. We're trying to stop thinking when we're thinking, and it's like, I can't do this. To hell with all this nonsense. But it's not about that. It's about observing your thoughts. You know, body scans, deep breaths, and being aware. Why is the breathing so powerful? Every spiritual teacher I've ever listened to, and I listened to a lot over the years, every spiritual teacher I've ever listened to always begins with focusing on the breath. And it's, you don't think about your breathing, but you put your attention there, if that makes sense. And when you put your attention on your breathing, you take the attention away from whatever thoughts are going on. Thoughts are just thoughts. That's all they are. They come and they go. And the experts tell me that we think, most of us think between 70 and 75,000 thoughts a day. That's a busy, busy head. And a big percentage of them are the same thoughts we thought yesterday, and they're quite redundant and unproductive, and some quite harmful. So any wee break from them thoughts, any wee moment of truly being present and feeling all your senses, instead of just being pulled into our thoughts. Our thoughts are there, but so is our sound, our smell, our feel. As my young brother David, God rest him, used to say, if we can keep our head where our feet are. As I say, we can't, I like to say we a lot, because I'm speaking to myself as much as anybody else who's going to listen to my wee videos. You know, we can't get in touch with our spirit unless we reach some stillness from time to time and go for that deeper well. I mean, it's also been described as like a pond. You know, the pond on the surface can be quite busy, especially when there's winds. The winds of life are blowing about our head, you know, worries, anxieties, fears, things to do, things not to do, scenarios that might happen, might not happen, these conversations we have in my head. But deeper down, just like the pond, there's a stillness. So one of the great things about this airwaves now being free, that there's so many great teachers, meditation guides, and I've written that if I recommend people go and tune into these things. They're all free, You'll find one you like. You'll find one that'll work for you. And when the uncomfortable feelings come up, the only thing to do with them is to feel them. So a lot of us carry a lot of guilt and shame. I don't think you can get to adulthood without having some guilt and shame. So forgiving ourselves and letting go of that has a lot to do with it as well. Coming to terms and letting go of the past. It's really, really difficult, but it's a journey worth embarking on, because as I said earlier, if you don't deal with your past, it will deal with you having any chance of a good future. And it all starts with being present. One of Eckhart's teachings is, if we bring the past into the present, it gets healed. But if we keep running away from it, I don't think he says this second, but I think I'm making this second bit up. But I think if you keep running away from it, we're just carrying it and it's weighing us down and it's chasing us. So we need more compulsive things, more addictive things, more escapism, escape from reality. Reality can be painful. Reality can be painful. There's deaths, there's circumstances that are difficult to handle. But reality itself is a beautiful thing. It really is. It's okay. Life is okay. There's lots of hellish, horrible, unjust, evil things happening in this world. I'm not decrying that or ignoring it. But life itself, this thing we call life, this evolutionary impulse that has been going for several million years now, this energy that some people call God, religious people call it this energy God, this evolutionary impulse that is creating and abundant and always giving and always pushing and breathing more life into this planet and this universe. This evolutionary impulse, we can only be in tune with that as well when we find this stillness. Now, some people call that God. One of the great benefits of prayer and meditation, we say prayer is like a religious term, but see, I truly believe that anything we think is a prayer. If you think it often enough, it's a prayer. You're putting it out there. It's an energy and you're putting it out. Worry is the worst type of prayer. It really is. Worry is the worst type of prayer. It's no about trying to control your thoughts and trying not to do this, not to do that. You can't not do that. The more you try not to do it, it's like pouring petrol on a fire. It's finding this place of stillness. And you start to think, wow, there's something more going on here. Something more going on here. Something that the intellect can't really grasp. It's too big. It's too big. There's 8 billion people on this planet. This planet is spinning, some say in the centre of the universe. A few degrees that way it would freeze, a few degrees that way it would burn. There's the exact amount of nitrogen and oxygen for life in us. It's an intricate, amazing, mind-boggling. There's certain stuff that just sitting and being still and realising that you're a spiritual being on a human journey. And a lot of life's a mystery. A lot of life's a mystery, and we need to find an okayness with that mystery. We don't need to know all the answers. But I love one of my reasons for my motive for making these wee videos are completely selfless. I just want to help people find their innermost being, which I've been finding for a while now, and I know it's in us all. And as I said in the beginning of the week's video, it's tainted by learnt behaviours, fears, and rightly so. It doesn't make us bad people that we don't know we've got a spirit and we don't know that stillness is beautiful and it can be tapped into. But you can't grow spiritually, you can't spiritually awaken without applying some spiritual practices. And there's loads there that find one that suits you, honestly, find one that suits you. Yet what he tells us things, I don't really like that term, voices in my head. I've never had voices in my head, but I have thoughts in my head. A lot of people call that voices. I just don't like the term having voices in my head. I don't hear it. But we have thoughts. We have a lot of thoughts. And a lot of them are negative. And a lot of them try and close our mind on new things. Why is that? I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery to me. I don't know. I really don't. Religious people say it's the devil firing darts into our head, and other people say it's just a spiritual malady, it's part of our evolution. And to me, it doesn't really matter, excuse me, what it is. What matters is, how do we deal with it? I'm more into what's the solution to it than analysing what it is or where it comes from. It's negative, and how do we deal with that negativity? We find a place where it doesn't affect us in stillness, in peace. Bit of mindfulness. A wee bit of mindfulness. A wee bit of breathing for a wee while. But as I was trying to point out there, the head will tell you, you can't do that. This is nonsense. You're hungry. Go and get some toast. And it's practicing to let thoughts like that just be there. But you don't have to be pulled away by them. You can do that in your own time. Go and make the toast and the boiled egg, or whatever it is. Instead of being urged to do every thought that comes into our head. We have to learn to ignore a lot of thoughts. And then, when thoughts are used to being in charge, at first they don't, it seems to me they don't like no being in charge. But they eventually accept it. It's a bit like maybe a dog, It doesn't like being told to sit and train, but eventually it does it. It does it peacefully and enjoyable, and sits and be still, But as I say, to train a dog to do that takes a lot of practice with some dogs, and to train a head to do that, it takes a lot of practice with some heads. So the point I'm making here about all this is you can't really get in touch with your spirit with a busy head. So we have to find a spiritual practice that takes us out of the busy head, takes us into the moment. I mean, I might, as these wee videos go on, I plan to do one a week because I've had a lot of good feedback and a lot of positive encouragement from people I admire that said they're getting benefit out of this, and then encouraged me to keep doing them. So that's courage enough for me to do these. And if these can help anybody in any way, mission accomplished, mission accomplished. But the things, I'll speak a lot about the things that hinder spirituality and us getting in touch with our spirits and get in the way and block us from being awakened. And I'll speak a lot on these videos about the benefits of being awakened, the many, many, many benefits of being awakened. So the wee encouragement there is to try and find a wee meditation that works for you. Meditation it's wide and varied, it means a lot of different things. I don't think there's a worldwide one view of what meditation is and what it isn't. There's different types of meditation. The best ones that work for me are ones that bring me fully into the present with all my senses alert, but me being still in peace and completely present. When you're completely present, you experience this peace that you didn't know existed. And light, the colours round about you, they seem more bright. The ticking of a clock, a noise that would maybe annoy you sounds nice instead of annoying, because the head was annoyed by it. Most of our problems aren't actually an incident that happened or something that's happening. They happened and that happened, but it's our thoughts, our thinking towards the issue, the situation, or the thing that happened that really caused the problem. And coming into the present gives us a wee break for that, gives us a wee pull back for it. And we go, I'm making a big deal out of nothing here. But you can't do that when you're making a big deal out of nothing. So you've got to come somewhere where you can be at peace and be still in the now. As I said earlier, I like repeating this, you know, the now, the eternal between the past and the future, saturated in infinite, unconditional love. One of the many benefits of going on this spiritual journey to spiritually awaken, I firmly believe it's why we're here. I know many people who die and have died, loads of friends, family, close family members who have died and never knew they had a spirit, never knew there was a peace and joy that outward things can bring, you know. And so, you know, it's sad. It seems like they've missed the whole point of life. They've missed the whole point of life. What is your life? What is your actual life? You know, who are you? You know, who am I? Who am I? You're John Fitzsimmons. No. That's my name. That's not who am I. And rub that out with a rubber and change it if I want. So that's not who I am. Oh, you're father of Louis and grandfather to 2 kids. No. That's a role I play, a great role. I love praying, but it's not who I am. All right, you're John the care sector worker. No, that's my job. That's not who I am, and it's not my life. If that was my life, when I stopped working, I would die. So that's not my life, that's another role I play. These are all the contents of our life. They're not our life. If you take them away, do we die? No, we're still alive. There's a life force. I alluded to earlier. I like to call it the source of life, the evolutionary impulse that drives life forward and keeps it going, the seasons. You know, and that impulse is the source of life. There's a life force and source right through us. While I've been talking, right, in fact, well before that, before you came out of your mother's womb, your heart's been beating constantly. Now, while I've been sitting doing this video, my heart's been beating constantly, but I've never, ever been aware of it, except now, because I'm deliberately putting my attention to it. It does it all the time. I don't do that. It does it. The life force, the evolutionary impulse of life just does that. And your spirit's a bit like that. It's there constantly. But a bit like that heartbeat. We can't get in tune with it until we actually stop and be attentive to it. Notice it. Recognise it. There it is. It's deep, deep down. Some people call it the soul. Again, words are very weak conveyors of spiritual truths. They really are. They can only hopefully point. But you know, spirituality and the spiritual journey and spiritual awakenings are all about one thing. Individuals having their own experience of this. It's about your experience, my experience, our experience. It's not about dogma or doctrine or religion or sets of do's and don'ts. It's about, hey, do you know you're a spiritual being? Have you realised that yet? Has there been wee moments in your life where you've went, something more going on here, something deeper going on, something bigger than all of us? It's not about do you believe in spirituality, it's are you aware of it? You know, as I say, some people die without being aware of it. And that's sad. Let's not be people who die without awakening. They use the term awakening to suggest that people are still asleep. I mean, obviously they're not still asleep, but we're in a trance, similar to a sleep, until we stop take stock, notice. There's something deeper going on here. There's a part of me, I've always known it's there. Just every once in a while, I've had a wee moment and felt it. Let's feel more like that. Let's be people who learn to live from our spirits. Because when you're living from that place of peace, as I said at the beginning of the week, a lot of this stuff is so petty that we get up to high door about, we get worried and anxious about. It's so unreal, and we all do it, but we're just human, you know. We're just human, but a great fruit of spirituality is self-love. One of the great benefits is learning to love yourself. What does that mean? It means stop beating ourselves up. Stop saying negative things to ourselves, especially when we make a mistake. None of us are perfect, they say, but we need to be perfectly alright with that, you know. There's many benefits of being spiritual, getting in touch with your spirit. So as I say, this is my passion, to help others have their own experience of spirituality. One of the great benefits of spirituality is when you get in touch with your own spirit, you start to recognise and honour everybody else's. And you start to recognise, without dogma or doctrine or religion, or these old traditions that a lot of science has proved wrong, a lot of them. Without all that, you start to realise that there's a bigger, wider spirit. There's a source of life. I like the word source. An evolutionary impulse. The evolutionary impulse that keeps beating and beating and beating, and being in tune with that, to start to grow outward past, outward pettiness, outward childishness, into true, strong, humble manhood. So I'm winding down now. I don't know how I've time these things, but I'll just go with the flow. I haven't planned anything to say. I like to think this is inspirational. It's in spirit. It's from my spirit to yours. That's what in spirit, inspirational means. So I just go a lot of the time on inspiration and just talk from my heart. And I just hope that some people have been blessed by this, and some people have been encouraged that, hey, we don't have to be dragged about by our past, or held back by our past, or messed up by our past. There's a way out of that, and the way out is the way in. So thanks again for all the encouraging comments from my last video. As I say, I plan to do one of these a week, touching on things like tips on how to be present and how to get in touch with your spirit, tips on recognising what blocks that and looking at ways how to deal with that block. As some wise man once said, that spirituality it's not about getting, it's about reduction. It's about getting rid of past, old behaviours, resentments, bringing hurts into the present to be healed, and letting go. It's a letting go a lot of the time, you know. So thank you again, my Facebook friends. And again, another interpretation of the word namaste is the divine in me loves and respects the divine in you. So until my next video, guys, much love, God bless, and namaste.